We've been in Mexico City for a few months since my partner chose to self-deport from the United States. Today we have a few apartment viewings lined up and they're all in Roma Norte. This is the first apartment. It's 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom for 26,500 pesos, which comes out to a little bit over 1,400 US dollars. We're looking for at least a 2-bedroom. We're really contemplating here because the setup in LA was that we lived in the city and we had our art studios nearby, so it was all very accessible. We would bike every day. And so when I came here, I was really surprised because the rents are actually comparable to Los Angeles, but also for a studio or some kind of storefront, they are ridiculously expensive. So we're thinking about doing an in-home situation. This apartment, although feels a bit small, this is the first bathroom, and then this is the second bathroom down the hall. Here's the second apartment. 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 25,500 pesos, which comes out to $1,400 and some change. The kitchen orientation I'm not super happy with. Also, this one did not have a balcony. Apartment number 1 did have a balcony. And then this one only has 1 bathroom, which I'm not crazy about. If we do have guests come to visit, I don't necessarily want to be sharing a bathroom. It just sounds like a hassle. I'm also not a fan of this not having a view. When I lived in Philly, my apartment looked directly into a parking garage, and I promised myself I would never, ever, ever live in a similar situation. I have to be able to see the sky. I have to be able to have some kind of a view. So while this one was lower in price, I don't think that it was as aligned. And then apartment number 3. This was on the 4th floor of the same building. This one was 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom at 28,500 pesos, which comes out to a little bit over 1,500 US dollars. This was the point where I realized none of these kitchens had ovens. So while I think it's nice that we were able to go and see what apartments look like in the city, this is definitely not the best choice because I love to bake. I love to roast things, and I am still haunted by my Philly apartment, which had a tiny bachelor-sized kitchen, which did not have an oven. And once again, just like the view, I swore to myself, I will have an oven. So the balcony was really beautiful though. The one downside was that the building across the street was actually a hospital, so I'm not super crazy about hearing ambulances all the time or just living across the street from a hospital. But this one did have 2 bathrooms, which were pretty big. But this building also didn't include any type of parking, which we don't have a car, but I envision us to have a car later on, and that's just going to be a nightmare. So the following day, we had another apartment viewing in a different area of Roma Norte. Of course, Moosh is the escape artist and he runs out to eat the plants whenever he can. So I put him back in the house and we are on the way. This next apartment's actually a 3-bedroom, which would be marvelous to have our room, a guest room / office, and then some kind of studio space. It comes completely furnished and has 1 bathroom for the 3 bedrooms at 26,300 pesos, which comes out to a little bit over 1,400 US dollars. At first, looking out this window, I'm like, oh, I do not want the neighbors looking in to the apartment like that. I just thought it was way too close. But I love how all the different rooms are spaced out. And then turns out that actually wasn't the neighbor's area. That was the same apartment. I'm not super fond of the idea of just having 1 bathroom though. Again, I don't really want to share a bathroom with guests or anytime we have anyone over. I like my privacy. But this is the first bedroom. There was lots of natural light in here. And then the bathroom, which had a window, I loved that. I remember in LA, our bathroom didn't have a window and it could get really gross really quickly just with all of the humidity. This was actually the other bedroom office area. I can see the sky from this room, which is great. The view wasn't anything too special, but at least it wasn't just a concrete wall. So I was thinking this space could maybe be some kind of a studio space, but it also feels so small and I'm just thinking about all these different possibilities. If we're going to have a studio in the house, if it's going to be elsewhere, if I'm going to commute there, what life is really going to look like, because I'm honestly just feeling really lost. But this is the final bedroom. This building didn't have parking included, so that would be an additional, I think, like 2,000 pesos a month. But that's what we saw during these viewings, and I don't know if I can see myself in them, but we're gonna stay positive and keep looking.